All right, boys and girls, this is part 2 of the activity for math today. It's called Scoot the Marker. And if you haven't done this already yet, you're going to need to cut out. I sent you a copy of this decimal strip. You need to cut that out, or else you can use it right on your iPad and you can mark on it from there. And also you're going to need student book page 269 to go along with this. So if you look at the directions on page 269, you're going to have one of these decimal strips. Now, the one thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to add some fractions onto this. So you can see on the top example, they have the fraction and the decimal for 1/10, which would be equivalent to 10 hundredths. And so I have put mine onto a larger piece of paper. You could put yours onto a piece of copy paper, and you can add these on with me. So for 1/10, we're going to start above. We're going to put decimal 1/10, 0.1, and then above that the fraction, and then below it we're going to turn it into hundredths. So remember that 1/10 would be like having 10 cents, 10 pennies out of 100. So 10 hundredths or 0.10, 10 hundredths. We're going to do the same thing for the next. So this will be 2/10, 2/10. Below it we're going to turn it into its equivalent 20 hundredths. Okay, and we're going to continue to do that on down the entire length of this decimal strip. Okay, now when I get to 4/10 or 40 hundredths, I'm going to stop there for just a moment. I'm going to ask you to go back now and look at your student book on what they're going to do. So you're going to take a coin, you can take some kind of a game marker, you can take a button, anything that's small and round, and you're going to lay it on the edge of your strip, and then you're going to gently flick. It says to flick your marker and read the distance that it traveled. So I'm going to pretend to do this example here. So this time if I flick it, it's going to go to 42 hundredths, and you're going to use the front end of the marker, or the front end of the coin, to mark your space. So 42 hundredths. So for record sheet number 1, we're going to put the distance we traveled in meters. So 42 hundredths as a fraction would be 0.42 over 100. Actually, you really don't need the decimal at that. So we'll just put 42 hundredths. Then you have to create an inequality statement. So if you go back and look at the directions, if your fraction is between 4/10 and 6/10, you would receive 3 points. So 42 hundredths, again, say you had 42 cents, would be between 40 cents and 60 cents. So I would get 3 points for that. So when I mark that, I'm going to do an inequality. So I would have 40 hundredths is less than, and here's my fraction, 42 hundredths, which would be less than 60 hundredths, and that would be worth 3 points. So again, I'm just going back and looking kind of at the example that's done here. So depending upon where you land on your fraction decimal strip, you're going to earn more points. The closer you get to some of these fractions, you're going to see 3 points. Over here between 61 hundredths and 9/10, you get 2 points. If you go beyond 9/10, so if you go beyond 9/10, you get 0 points. So try this. I want you to do it 5 times. The first time you do it, I want you to mark all of your answers in fractions. And the second time you do it, you're going to mark your answers in decimals. So if I'm going to do this in decimals, it would be 0.42, 42 hundredths. And again, 4/10 is less than 42 hundredths, which is less than 6/10 or 60 hundredths. So please send me on Seesaw once you've completed each of the games. You can either send me game 1 or game 2, and make sure you get your distance in meters, your inequality statements, and your points. This page again, on page 269, this section right here is very helpful, and just below it, it gives you examples on how each one looks as fractions. So that would be for game 1. and then also for game 2, how it looks in decimals. Take your time. You have until Wednesday to complete this. I would encourage you to read all the directions twice, read carefully. And as always, if you have any questions, certainly feel free to reach out and we can work a little bit more on this throughout the week. Have fun.